Tell I'm getting all choked up. Hello there. Welcome to my makeup table. We haven't been here in a while, have we? I'm so glad you're here. Before we get started today, and I'm sure you're wondering about the title of this video, but don't worry, ladies, hang in here with me because I'm going to be sharing with you some wonderful qualities that you have that you might be overlooking. What I want to talk about first is a little PSA, public service announcement. I have a little dog, Lucy. She's a doodle. You guys might know her. She's small. She's about 22 pounds. The sweetest puppy ever. Not the bravest, but definitely the sweetest. And I do not allow Lucy in the kitchen. I don't. And right now in this house, I have an open kitchen, and I had an open kitchen the last time too. But she knows that she has to stay on the perimeter of the kitchen. Why do I do that? Because the number of women who trip throughout the year over their animals is really high. And I don't want to break my hip or sprain my wrists or whatever. And if I fall in the kitchen that I have now, I'm connecting with a counter on my way down, which I don't want to do. And you know, when you're in the kitchen, you're moving quickly. You're at the chopping block, and then you've got things in the pan, and then you've got to go over to the sink and the refrigerator, and you're just taking a couple of steps here or there really quickly, and you're not looking. And I learned early on that Lucy underneath my feet was going to be a hazard for me in the kitchen. The reason I bring this up is because I just watched a video last night here on YouTube of a woman close to our age, she's about our age, early 60s, maybe late 50s, who had a terrible fall because she tripped over her dog. So I just wanted to share that with you. You might want to think about keeping yourself a little safe from tripping over your little furry love muffins. Well, as I mentioned in the title of this video, I have something I want to talk about today, but don't worry, it's going to be fun and interesting. And there is an upside and a downside to this conversation, and I'm going to be putting on makeup throughout the morning because I need to do that, and I thought we could do it together. I'm going to start with, look at how the label is all worn off. This is how long I've had it. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I start with this first because I like to layer the highlight on my skin. And oh, if you're new here, welcome in. I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything beauty, fitness, and lifestyle for the over 50 woman. I'm so glad you stopped by today. I'm going to be doing makeup on my 68, almost 69-year-old skin. I'll be 69 in about a month and a half or 2 months, something like that. And I started my skincare journey here on YouTube almost 6 years ago now because my skin was in horrible shape. And I've worked on it for the last 5.5, almost 6 years. I think it's almost 6 years now. And things are a lot better. So if you're interested in addressing your skin concerns as a little bit older, more mature woman, you might want to take a look at some of the videos I have over on my channel. I think you might find them helpful. So what are we doing here today? We're putting on makeup. I have some new makeup that Charlotte Tilbury sent me. This is a mascara. It's called Full Fat Lashes. That sounds good. I have a couple of lip products. I think this is a lip liner and like a lip gloss. And then I also have something, I kind of opened it up and looked, and I think this is kind of interesting. This is a cream shadow in the iconic, uber famous OG Pillow Talk color. You know, Pillow Talk is one of the most popular lipsticks ever. And I think they have it in an eyeshadow now, so we're going to try this today. So I'm going to be talking and putting on my makeup. If I lose focus in one direction or another, I'm sorry. I'll come back to it. So let's launch in. I want to talk about something that I think us as older women are not doing enough of. And what that thing is saying no. Saying no, saying I'm not going to do that, and just drawing a line in the sand. I think we may have dropped the ball a little bit in that area. And I have a lot of concepts and ideas and thoughts about that. So make sure that you stick with me because I really have been thinking about this for a few months now. And at the end, don't despair. I have some steps that we can take that will not only, I believe, really enhance and improve our own lives, but will really enhance and improve society around us. So I hope you'll stick with me because this is a topic that's really kind of near and dear to my heart right now. Okay, next up in the makeup journey, and this is just how I do my makeup. I'm not a professional makeup artist, but I was a professional artist for over 3 decades. So I do understand color and shadow and that sort of thing. And I think that has helped me with the whole makeup deal because, applying color and creating planes and angles on the face are a little bit easier when you have a visual art background. So I always start putting in a little bit of definition in my brows because the brows really create sort of this frame of your eyes and your face. And I'll just put that's the Jones Road brow pencil. I really do like it because it's nice and fat and it gets a lot of color on really easily. Now, one of the things that I will do when I'm sitting down to do my makeup is I will brush my brows up like this to see what's going on with the hairs on my brow. I don't know if you have the same issue that I have, and that is that I can go to bed at night a normal human being and I wake up in the morning and I'm Carl Malden and I have these long eyebrow hairs that are crazy. So I always sort of do this to see if there's like that extra long one. And then I'll just take the little scissors I have here and clip that off. We're looking pretty good today. So I think we can move on. So what am I talking about here as far as older women and saying no and drawing a line in the sand? In order to illustrate the concept that I want to talk about today, let's go back in time to a period that might feel lovely and smoother and more easy and less stressful, and that is the 60s. And if you don't remember the 60s or early 70s, you're on the wrong video. Most of us will remember the 60s. And I want to talk about something in the 60s that I remember very clearly, and maybe you do too. This is the Catrice Under Eye Brightener, and that was grocery shopping. When I was in, junior high and getting into high school, and of course, grade school as well, I graduated from high school with the same kids I went to kindergarten with. So I lived in a community where we really knew each other and we grew up together and we saw each other mature into young adults. So I can remember going to the grocery store when I was younger with my mom, sometimes with my grandma, and it was lovely. We had in my community a little store called Rayleigh's. If you live in the Northern California area, you might know Rayleigh's. It's sort of a local company. So I would go to the grocery store with my mom or my grandma, and it was nice. It was pleasant. And it felt like just a little social event in the community because you'd see people from the neighborhood. Maybe the checker was Brenda who lived 3 streets down from you. When you got up to, pay for your groceries, it was a friendly, nice experience. And a little high school student, it could have been Brandon or Jennifer or Shauna or whoever, a little high school student that you might know from your neighborhood was bagging your groceries. It really was a very pleasant, sweet life activity that felt good. It felt like community. It felt pleasant. Peaches were 18, 19 cents a pound. I mean, it was just a different experience. That concealer was the Eraser concealer. This is the Maybelline. This is a holy grail. This has been around forever. I'm trying to figure out what color I have, but I can't read it. I'll have everything listed in the description box down below. Next up, this is the L'Oreal Lumi This is the Le Glow tint. I really love this, but I don't put it all over my face. You'll be able to see where I put it. So that was then. That was the 60s. Let's fast forward to today. And I just went to the grocery store in my community a few days ago, and I don't go there much. And I'll explain that in a few minutes. And I'll tell you, it didn't feel anything like it used to feel. I go in the store, and the store kind of looks like it's been the victim of a mugging. I mean, it's just not as clean and tidy and well cared for as I remember the grocery stores when I was younger. So I go through and do my shopping, and heaven knows, we all know this, the prices are very different. Peaches are no longer 19 cents a pound, they're $3.99 a pound, and maybe $4.99 a pound if you want organic. And that's a little complaint I have about grocery stores too. So this left over on the back of my hand, I'm just going to go like this to really create a nice little evenness and glow on the back of my hands. So in the produce department, they have two sections, the regular section and the organic section, which is just the start of how things have gotten so convoluted and so screwed up. What would be more accurate is to just have the organic produce as the regular produce, the produce without toxic chemicals on it, and the rest labeled chemical vegetables, because that's what they are. They're literally just doused in toxic chemicals. So it's crazy making to me that they say organic and then they say, conventional. No, it's not conventional. It's chemical. So let's just make that clear right there. Okay, so with my foundation, you'll see that I did not put that on my nose. I had very, very oily skin when I was younger, and I have bigger pores on my nose. So that foundation will give me polka dot pores. What I do instead is I just get my Bare Minerals. Oh my gosh, this container is so dirty. I have to clean off the top before I show you, or you think I'm just a mess. So I just use this little Bare Minerals. This is that powder foundation that came out, oh gosh, years ago now, that was just quite the rage. Tiny, tiny little amount here in the lid. And I'm going to get that onto my BK Beauty brush, really work it into the bristles because I don't need very much. And I'm just going to go like this over my nose, and I'm going to go underneath my eyes to help set down that concealer. So this just gets dusted over my complexion really, really lightly. I don't need a lot of coverage on my nose because I don't have any, weird stuff going on there, but this just really helps. So I'm in the grocery store, I see the mislabeling of the produce, and I do my shopping, and I go up to the front. And we all know what that's like now. How it was for me on that day, this is the bronzer from Boom. I love the Boom sticks. I love, love, love them. I use them every single day. And in my mind, Jones Road, I love you. I don't love all your products. This is what the Jones Road Miracle, whatever, wanted to be. So that's my opinion. But Jones Road, I still do love you. Okay, so I go up to the front of the store to pay for my groceries. And of course, we all know that it's going to be sticker shock. Once they get done ringing up my groceries and giving me the total. But what happens first is I look around, and although they have, I don't know, how many do they have? 7 or 8 checkout stands? One is open. One. They have one checker checking out people. And of course, there's a long line because they don't have any checkers working. And then I look over, and in my store, it's to the left as you're facing the checkers. And I see that self-check area. And guess what? All those registers have people at them, and there's a line waiting for self-check. And what it creates in me is a deep sense of dissatisfaction. Because, and this is where older women like you and I are so important, and we have so much valuable information. And that's kind of the point of today's video. The reason it creates such a sense of dissatisfaction in me is because I remember, and you remember, and we remember that going to the grocery store used to feel good, and all the produce wasn't covered in toxic chemicals, and you went up to the clerk, the checker, and it wasn't a long line, and that nice boy or girl from the local high school was there to bag your groceries and walk you out to the car and unload your groceries. And while you were doing that, you were asking them, so when's your driving test? Or how was the game on Friday night? Are you still playing football? Are you still playing volleyball? Are you still in the band? You're having a conversation with a nice younger member of your community who you probably know. And now what we do is we go to a very, in my opinion, unkept store, and we pay 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 times what we used to pay. And we get far fewer services, and the whole experience feels to me like I've been beat up. It doesn't feel pleasant. I don't feel like I've connected with people in my community. I don't feel like I've had a nice conversation. I feel like I've been abused. That's exactly what I feel like. And you know what, ladies? And here's the kicker. That was the business plan all along. Yep. Here's what I have seen happen with corporate America. This is the boomstick. This is the blush. Can't read the name. I'll have it in the description box down below. So in the C-suite at, major grocery store chains, and the C-suite are the CEOs and the people that, make the corporate decisions, they had a choice. They could have kept our experience grocery shopping pleasant and affordable and, a nice experience, but they decided they wanted profit more than giving you a good experience. So they hatched a plan to charge you a multiple of what you'd been paying and give you far fewer services. And when they hatched that plan and they looked at their bottom line and what that would mean to their bottom line, they realized that this is not something they could implement all at once. Because in the early 60s and early 70s, if all of a sudden we went into a grocery store and it was like it is today, we would have had a fit. We would have protested. We would have complained. We would have done this. So they did what corporations do all across this country, all around the world. They implement their tactics very slowly over time. It's kind of like that whole thing of boiling a frog in water. How do you do it? Slowly. And then the frog doesn't jump out. What I have noticed, and this is the boomstick highlighter, just going to put a little bit here and here. What I have noticed is they always start their programs by weaponizing our compassion. And what do I mean by that? Humans are very, very, very compassionate people. There are very few of us who, seeing a puppy injured on the side of the road and alone, wouldn't stop and help that puppy. We are very compassionate people. That's why you help your neighbors. That's why you help your friends, because we have love in our heart. and we want to help people, and we want things to go well for the people we care about and even the people we don't even know. So they always start by weaponizing our compassion. And in the grocery industry, this started with the plastic bags. Remember, we were going to save the trees. Save the trees. We're no longer going to have paper bags. We're going to have plastic bags. Well, we all felt responsible for the trees. And what did we do? We accepted it. In my heart of hearts, and maybe in your heart of hearts too, you will look back and realize that what they figured out is the plastic bags cost a fraction of what the paper bags did. So they wanted to switch from a nice tactile experience of a paper bag that was useful to a plastic bag that cost a fraction of what that paper bag did. How are they going to do it? They can't say we're going to do this because it saves us money, because then they would have to justify that in their prices. No, they weaponized our compassion by telling us they're saving the trees. I guess we're not saving the trees anymore because paper bags are back. The whole ruse worked for them, and now they can move on to the next thing. So that's where it starts. And I always know that when a corporation or an entity comes out with a compassion plea, there is something behind it. And now that I pointed it out, you will notice it too. So the next step in this whole thing, and I'm going to put on this eyeshadow now. I'm kind of excited about this. I really like cream shadow. Let me see what this looks like. It's sort of a pretty rosy color with a little bit of brown undertone. So there we go now. So they weaponized our compassion and started changing things up with the plastic bags. The next thing they did is they put in those self-check stations, which to me is an absolute illustration of corporate greed and evil all wrapped up in one. But how did they do it? Well, they decided that if they could get you to check yourself out, they're going to save so much money in payroll. They numbered it out. They costed it out far before they started implementing it in the stores. But what did they say? They didn't say, hey, we're putting in self-checkouts because if we can get you to work for us for free, we're going to make a much greater profit. No, they said it's for your convenience. It's for your convenience. If you're in a hurry and you just have a few items and you want to get out of the store really quickly, we're thinking of you. We're going to put in these self-checkout stands so you can get along your way quickly. It was a total ruse, ladies. It was a bait and switch like we see all the time with corporations. And you'll notice it now that I'm bringing it up. And some of you are saying right now, oh my gosh, I am so glad someone's talking about this because it's been on your mind too. So what did they do? They put in all these self-checkouts for your convenience. What it really was an amazing cost savings for them, because not only are they saving money in payroll, they're saving money in health benefits, in retirement benefits, everything across the board. If you think they did that for convenience, they didn't. They did it because they're greedy corporations. They have no interest in what our experience is. The only interest they have in us is how they can manipulate us to do what they want us to do so they can make more profits. What do we think about that eyeshadow? It's kind of a nice rosy pink. I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm going to put on a little powdered blush, which I rarely do. This is the Ambient Diffused Heat from Hourglass. It looks like this. It doesn't look like anything, but it's actually really pretty on. So now that they put in these checkouts, these self-checkouts for our convenience, they don't have to bring in checkers anymore. And I have been in grocery stores across this country, and you guys know I've traveled around a lot, And I will see an absolutely full grocery store full with customers. They have one checker. And of course, there's a line at that self-check, which was for your convenience, so you could get out quicker. There's a line there too. That was the plan all along. And where is that nice little high school kid that was fun to talk to because he or she was sweet and endearing, and you could talk to them about what was going on in their life? They're gone. Now you are checking out your own groceries. You're doing their job for them. You're bagging your own groceries. You're putting your groceries into the cart. You're taking that cart out to the car. You're unloading your own groceries, and then you're schlepping the cart back into the store, into the little cart lane. Those are all services that the grocery stores of the 60s and probably the early 70s provided. So they have slowly, over time, implemented a plan to get us to accept so much less and pay so much more and end up with an experience that does not feel good. And why? Because if you can get people to accept something slowly over time, they're not going to protest. It's like the frog boiling in the water. If they turn up the heat really slowly, that frog's eventually going to succumb to the heat. But it happened so slowly over time that it didn't get noticed. And that's exactly what they've done to us. And it's not only the grocery industry. I could name industries across this nation. I live in the U.S. This is primarily U.S. focused, but my guess is it's no different in other places. So now we have an experience that they have implemented intentionally that costs us more money and feels terrible. At least it feels terrible for me. So what do we do with that? I'm going to use the hourglass. This is the dim light, and I'm just going to put it all over my face to kind of pull everything together. This is a filter, and when you put a filter all over your entire face, it acts just like a filter on your camera. You know, you can put on those filters that make you look a little, I don't know, different. So I just put this all over my face. So here we are. We have been manipulated and pretty much lied to. So where do we go from here? And one of the things I want to reflect on again is how important we are. You and I, women our age. Why? Because we remember. We remember how it used to be. And we remember how it used to be not only in the grocery store, but instances all around our lives where we are now dealing with corporations whose only concern is greater profit. We remember how it used to be. And maybe you've had this experience, but I know that I have said to my daughter, who is 35, honey, it didn't used to be like this. And she can't really integrate it because this is all she's known. This is all that's been available in her lifetime. But I remember, and you remember, and we remember how it can be. And that's why what we have is so important. And I'm wondering if we can't be a little bit more in our power and in our knowing and in our experience to say no. To say, I'm not going to do that. To say, this is my line in the sand. Enough. Enough soaking me for every nickel you can get from me while expecting me to do your job. And then you want to check my receipt as I walk out of the store? Are you crazy? You want to check the work that I just did for you that you're not paying for? So what do? Well, I am going to share what I have done. And you probably have great ideas of your own that you can share with us. And make sure you put them in the comments below, because I really, really would love for us to be a little bit more vocal about what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept. Because you know what? This is our world. And here's the truth. There is no corporation, and for that matter, no government entity that has any money. They of themselves have no money. The only money they have is what we give to them or they take from us. That's it. So who really has the power in this situation? It's not them, it's us, because it's our money that they are manipulating. And for me, I don't play anymore. And I can tell you that there's lots of times where I've gone into a store that I say, I don't do that, or I'm not going to do that. And I'll give you an example. I'm going to curl my eyelashes here really quick. I recently went into an Ulta, and I'm going to talk about what I call the trained monkey syndrome. And I don't do it. I don't play anymore. I caught on a while ago. I don't play anymore. You know how when you'll get up to the checkout in some stores, in Ulta is like this. You have to jump through all these hoops in order to buy whatever that is you want to buy. Put in your rewards not, and then do you want email? Do you want this? And you've got to play on that keypad, and I call it the trained monkey syndrome. They have trained us like monkeys to play their little game when what I want to do is I want to go up, talk to a nice clerk who asks me how my day's been, thanks me for coming in, I give her some cash, she gives me my goodies in a nice little bag, and I leave. Is that the experience anymore? No. It's the total trained monkey syndrome, where you're doing the whole keypad thing, and you know what? That rewards program, yeah, maybe you'll save a few dollars here and there. How much money do you think they're making off of scraping your information and selling it? So they're getting you to play the little game on the keypad like a trained monkey, and they're making money off of all of that, much more than that little discount they're giving you. So I don't play that game anymore. So what do? Well, for me, I've just started saying no. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And I refuse now to use those self-checkouts. It maybe happens once a year where I'll use a self-checkout just because I've got to get out of there or something's going on that I have to use it. But as a rule, no. I want that checker to keep her job. I want them to bring back those kids from high school to bag my groceries. I want to have that sweet conversation going out to my car with that high school student to find out what's going on in their life. That's a connection to the community. That has been robbed from us. It has been stripped from us. To now we have this experience where we're beat up with the prices, and we're beat up checking out, and we're beat up getting in the car and going home. It does not feel good. So what do? I'm just tightlining. This is the Revlon Color Stay. This is in purple. I use this sometimes because I have brown eyes, and the purple just really plays well with the brown. It doesn't go on, or at least I haven't been able to get it to go on as thick as the black, but I still do really like it. So what do? Well, you know, I do have some thoughts on that, and I think that they're good ones. And you can mull over my ideas, or maybe you have some better suggestions that you can put in the comments below. But I really do think it's time for us at our age, because we remember, honey, it didn't used to be like this. I can't tell you how many times I've said that to my daughter. Honey, it didn't used to be like this. Here are the things that I'm doing. I'm going to try the full fat lashes from Charlotte Tilbury. I don't know. I think that most companies have nailed, the eyelash formula. Here's what it looks like right here. Oh, and it has a nice little bristly brushes there. So what do? I don't play anymore. I very, very rarely go into large corporate grocery stores. it's just when I'm up against the wall and I almost have to. And I kind of prepare myself because I know it's going to be a downer of an experience. It's not going to feel good. What I have done is I have really sought out local sources in my community. The grocery store that I go to is a little locally owned market that always has more checkers than they need. There's always a checker standing there doing nothing, which I love. And they're nice. They bag up my groceries. Is it the high school or no? I wish it was. But they do employ local men and women that are very friendly, and there's always, always, always a checker. It's not a corporate store. It's a little local community store. So I sought out that when I got here. And I also work really diligently to find what I need from local resources. And that could be a farmer who grows produce. I get all my meat from a local rancher, and I pick that up at the farmer's market, which is on Fridays. I source my local honey. You can find those people off of Facebook Marketplace. If I need bread, I'm going to get one of the little sourdough ladies in the community that's going to make some awesome organic sourdough bread without all the chemicals in it. I don't buy processed foods. I buy whole, real foods. I have found a little produce market that sells mostly organic produce, and that's where I buy most of my produce. Now I'm going to go in. This is the e.l.f. This is their skinny little pencil. Love, love, love this thing. I believe I'm in the color taupe. And I really work around the whole corporate grocery store environment because I don't want to play. And the one thing that we all know, most of us know this, is that when you're looking to make a change in a system, in a collective, in a population the size of ours, it really isn't a good use of your energy to try to change the existing corrupt systems. It's a much better use of your energy to create new systems. So I could go up to the manager of my local, Safeway store, and say, "Hi, I'm Kimberly. I live in the community just a few miles away. You're the grocery store in my neighborhood. And I know that you probably spend a large portion of your life thinking about this store and managing this store. And I wish I could tell you that it felt like a good experience coming in here, but it just doesn't." And then I could explain to him the things that don't feel good to me and what I'd rather see. I would rather see checkers at the checkout stations that I can talk to. I would rather see a high schooler bagging my groceries so I can have that little time with them and they can earn some money for their first car and we can really grow as a community. I could say that, but you know what? I have found, and I think maybe you have found, and I think other people who have started movements have found that trying to change a corrupt corporation is really a waste of time because they've shown us who they are. They have shown us that they're not interested in our experience and they're not interested in earning our loyalty. Remember when the customer used to always be right? The customer is always right. No, not anymore. The customer is now someone to take as much money as possible and to give as few services as possible. That's where we're at. So I have found that creating new systems in my life, new places where I go, is really a better use of my time than trying to reason with people who don't want to be reasonable and don't want to be fair and don't want to be honest. So how did I do this? Well, it was one little step at a time, kind of like how they boiled us into this situation. I just decided this does not feel good. And I started making choices that did feel good. And now I very, very rarely go into one of those corporate-owned grocery stores because the customer is no longer right. The customer is there to be stripped of as much money as possible and to be made to do the jobs that is the corporation's job. And it's just not a pleasant and fun experience. So we've got the face kind of put together here. Let's see what these lipsticks are. I think there's a lip liner. Okay, there's a gloss right here. It looks like it's in Pillow Talk. Again, I can't read it. I think we kind of have a whole Pillow Talk palette going on here. I do like Charlotte Tilbury's. One thing I can say is that Hollywood Flawless filter I've had that for years. It's the same one I bought you guys years ago. Okay, so we have a little lip liner right here. I would imagine it's Pillow Talk, that's my guess. So there's the lip liner, and here's the gloss. This looks pretty, actually. So here we have the lipstick. Here we have the finished look. What do you guys think about that eyeshadow? I love cream eyeshadows. What do you think about that color? You know, the Pillow Talk is such an iconic color. I would imagine that they like to keep it alive. So I'm grateful they sent those to me. Thank you, Charlotte Tilbury. So as we wrap up, and if you stayed this long, thank you. Thank you so much for caring enough to think this through. What I think maybe us older women are not doing is we're not saying no enough. We're not sharing our experience because we know how it can be. And it has slipped away from us. And maybe we needed to draw the line in the sand years ago to say, I'm not doing that. But you know what? It's not too late. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because my daughter doesn't know. And I've said to her, and maybe you've said to your kids, it didn't used to be like this. Well, you know what? It couldn't be like that again. We can have a pleasant experience out in our world instead of being squeezed and manipulated and lied to by some greedy corporate heads just because they don't know the value of the human experience and the compassion that is so important when you're trying to build communities that work. I hope that this in some way has inspired you to understand that we have the power. We have the power. The only money they get to play with is the money we give them. And if we start taking our business and our energy and our money somewhere else, guess what? Things change. And that's how you really create the loving, warm, connected community that I think we're all craving. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. You know that. And this probably sparked some thoughts in your mind about other things in our environment now that have taken a similar path. That slow implementation to what ends up being a very bad experience. Put them in the comments down below because I would love for us to really get a clear picture of what's happening around us and start taking powerful, meaningful, loving steps to create new systems that feel loving and warm and nurturing and home. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today. You guys know it just makes my day when you take a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. Again, I'm Kimberly. This is Pretty Over 50, where we talk everything beauty, fitness, and lifestyle. I'm getting all choked up. Make it a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.